Hey everyone, this is Dr. Jeff Horowitz, and welcome to Dentists in the Know. This week, a little bit of a somber mood. I'm wearing some purple in honor of an incredible dentist, periodontist, social media influencer, coach, laser pioneer, guitarist, pilot. I don't even know what else to say. Just an incredible man that was lost in dentistry this year. If you'd indulge me for just a minute, I'd like to quote Dr. Pick and something that he used to tell to audiences, and something that he would openly share. And I'd like to share it with all of you before I get into the intro on the show. 5:05 in the morning, August 26th, I fell to the shower floor. Long story short, I got my appendix taken out as it had blown. The pain was unreal. 2 days later, sitting in the hospital bed, I'm watching the surgeon coming down the hall. I was on staff at Northwestern, so I knew everybody. I see the pathologist chairman and the oral pathology chairman walking with the surgeon. They looked very serious, and all three are total characters, so it wasn't because of their personality. The oral pathology chairman sat down with tears in his eyes, and I got a bit worried. He grabs my hand, hugs me, and tells me, I told him I'd be the one to tell you what's happened to you. You have a very aggressive adenocarcinoma of your appendix. We're worried that you have less than 6 months to live. My heart was broken. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was going to defecate my pants. I was scared to death, and the next day they took part of my intestine out as they went to the library for a full week to study my situation. He said, you're going through 14 months of experimental chemo and radiation never done to a human being before. Radiation for 3 months in the middle of the time frame, and a chemo pack through a port A cath that will be consistently rolling for 90 days during the radiation, in addition to the weekly chemo. I lost my eyebrows and my hair everywhere on my body but my head. They couldn't figure out why my head wouldn't shed. I lost 35 pounds. And 14 months later, they were surprised that I was even still here. I never missed a day of work except for when I was at the hospital. I signed off on 41 side effects that could potentially affect me. 2 of the 41 side effects got me. The first one happened about 7 years ago when I was walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago, and I stumbled and fell. A week later, I stumbled and fell again, and I went to the neurologist. I knew that he had determined it was one of the side effects of the radiation at the level of the appendix. Now I walk with a cane due to a weakness below my waist. I went deaf overnight in 2017. I was given a cochlear implant, thank goodness. My voice sounds like Mickey Mouse to me, and I got a little bit depressed. I couldn't listen to myself play guitar very well, but muscle memory finally came back, and I still play every day. With time, the helium effect of the cochlear implant is lessening. The moral of the story is, don't let anything get you down, ever, because you can find a way out of it. I talk about this all the time when I lecture, and in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity, quoted from Albert Einstein. This is just something that Dr. Robert Pick shared with his audiences, and I think it says a world about the man that he is and the man that we are going to honor tonight. So I'm Dr. Jeff Horowitz, and this is Dentists in the Know. You know that we're your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. We're live. We're going to celebrate Dr. Pick, or Bob, with a glass of wine, as I'm sure he would want us to do, and hopefully with a smile on our face, and with one of his best friends in the dental industry, Dr. Alan Stern. So I'm joined by 2 of my best friends in the world and a third new best friend, Dr. Alan Stern. As you know, Dr. Jennifer Bell and Dr. Chad Duplantis, myself, we're all dentists, we're all educators, we're all business owners. Our job is to bring you in the know, but tonight our job is to celebrate an incredible dentist. So, my friends, how are you? It's good to see you. It's a somber occasion, but there's so much to celebrate about Bob Pick.
Without a doubt. One of the things I was thinking about tonight as I was getting ready is, the blessing and curse of being human is that when things like this happen in your life and you lose someone unexpectedly, you haven't really had time to prepare for any of those things. For humans, there's this response mechanism that happens. There's mourning, there's celebration, especially for someone who, all I can think of was he left nothing on the table. Like he lived every day to the fullest and encouraged and mentored so many on his path. I don't think he had many regrets. But as humans on the outside, sort of participating in that process, like we get the chance to live vicariously through that process too, to say, okay, if that's someone I admired, that was someone I looked up to, that was someone I aspired to live my life like, this was my wake up call too, and your dog doesn't go through that. Your hamster doesn't go through that. A fish doesn't go through that. But humans get the privilege of getting second chances through the people that they admire the most, who left an impact and a lasting impression on earth, to say, a reminder that life is short and unexpected and has turns and twists, as Robert experienced or Bob experienced many times. Are we living life to its fullest potential? Are we giving ourselves to others the way we should? And what a blessing, uh, even at the end, he was continuing to teach and guide and mentor others.
Chad?
I'm kind of taken by both of your comments, and Jeff, what you read, that was pretty amazing. I don't know that I had ever heard that before, so I'm really impressed that you found that and could read it. It's funny. I don't know that I ever had the privilege of even shaking Bob's hand, which is an embarrassment, because I wish I would have met him in person. But we had talked on several occasions, and he had been on the show. And one thing that I will tell you is that, like everybody's said, we're never guaranteed or tomorrow, but somebody who lived their life to the fullest by just watching Bob through the eyes of social media and seeing what he does, his zest for life, his zest for dentistry, his zest for people, his zest for teaching. Bob was a pretty amazing guy. And I always laugh because if there was somebody that was a multitasker, it was Bob Pick. I mean, the guy's driving to work on Monday morning in a really nice freaking car, and he's got his phone set up, and he looks at it for a second and he goes, "Are we live? I think we're live. Hey, everybody, it's Monday morning. And you just are like, good God, on me, it's Monday morning. It's like, oh my God, it's freaking Monday. I got to go back to work. How's this week going to be? When's Thursday? Couldn't get here fast enough. Some people live for the weekends. I think Bob lived for Mondays. And I loved that. And I would always stop and pause and watch that on Monday mornings. And there's, as I was going through his Facebook page prior to the show, trying to put together a video, which don't know that it really is going to happen because technology wasn't my friend tonight. As a matter of fact, we're lucky that I have a computer to look into, because I about threw it out the window too. Just Bob was just so full of energy and so invigorating. And I looked through his pictures, and there were so many pictures with so many people, and Bob had the same smile. And some people, they can't do that. Bob had the same smile with everybody, and you could tell that he loved everybody just the same. And he was a special person, and I think we're going to learn a little bit more about his ins and outs, because as I was also thumbing through his page, I noticed there's about 400 Dr. Alan Stern workout videos on his on his Facebook page.
That didn't just happen, did it?
So I don't know if anybody wants some good material. Alan Stern with his headband and his calf socks, his tube socks with the stripes on it, and he's got 2 of those balls and he's pushing up and down and he's giving all the workout videos. But man, it's obvious that Alan and Bob had a very special relationship. And so I think we should bring Alan to the show.
I think we need to bring Alan up. You know, as you're bringing Alan. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
Good to see you guys. Thanks for that promo there, Chad. That's just wonderful.
You're welcome. I tried to put him in the video, but like I said, you're fortunate tonight. The technology wasn't working for me.
Just remember the principle of reciprocation.
Do you have a sweating to the oldies?
What's
video?
That?
A sweating to the oldies video?
No, I am an oldie and I sweat naturally, so I don't need that.
Yeah, his is called sweating.
I believe
with
it's
the
called
oldies.
a schwitz.
Yes. Yes, from our side of town, Jeff. Yes.
Well, Alan, you know, none of us have had the pleasure of knowing Bob anywhere near as long as you have, nor as closely. What I will say is, in the few years that I got to know Bob, he had a huge impact on me. You know, we all get to a certain age or point in our career where we start to question, what's the point? You know, am I getting tired of this? Am I doing enough? Will anybody care, you know, when I'm gone? And I'm going to tell you that every day I watched Bob, I was inspired to say, you know what? I can make a difference every single day of my life that I'm here. And it doesn't matter what people think well after you're gone. It's what can you do while you're here and who can you impact while you're here. And I really think that's kind of the legacy of Bob, because he touched so many people at every point through their career. So I'd love to hear some of your insights as one of his dearest friends.
Well, thanks, Jeff, and forgive my voice. Getting over a little bug that my grandson planted in my sinuses so kindly. You know, I'm working on his eulogy. I'm doing a eulogy for him at his celebration of life on the 15th. And the one thing that sticks out, and the lightheartedness and the funny stuff, we'll get into that. But never have I met anybody who has given so much and asked for nothing in return. He just wanted to give. He never asked me for anything. He gave me so much. And just because we hit it off so nicely, the guy's remarkable. His team, do you have any idea what he did for his team? Why his whole office team stayed with him for decades? You know, Christmas time, he would take them, you know, his famous pick business retreat. He'd take them out. They'd get out of the office for a day. They'd go over business and science and clinical. And then he'd take them to the mall and give them cash to go on a shopping spree. Who does that? And what did he get in return? He got a team that stayed with him for decades that adores him to this day. They don't just believe in him. They didn't just support the office. You know, when he was home recuperating and no one was around to help him out in the last 18 months, for a week, they took rotation turns going up to his place and taking care of him. Who does that?
You know, you say something that really I encourage everybody to do. Go to Purple Cow Wow's Facebook page, go to media, look up the videos, and watch some of Bob's short videos. And there was an excerpt that I was trying to put, and I promise this video will show up at some point in time this week when technology is on my side. But there was a video that he posted where he was walking through his office, and he must have said it 3 times. I love my team.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just really, really profound. And you could tell just watching some of their excitement as they went through the video. It wasn't oh crap, Dr. Pick's doing this again. It was, we love Bob. You know, you could definitely see it.
Anybody could say it. Bob lived it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He walked the walk. He'd have once a week in his morning huddle, he'd have a little game. He'd have them pick the ladies pick 2 numbers. And when they get the right 2 numbers, they got a gift. He had 2 gifts, little gifts, nothing elaborate, but something cute, something that would be special to them every week, week after week, without fail. This guy was walking, talking love of humanity. He
Pretty special.
preached.
And he always wanted to keep giving back. I mean, that's the thing is beyond his team, he was always looking to see, and this is really what a lot of the inspiration has been for me is he was always trying to figure out who else can I touch today?
Yeah.
Who else can I make feel good? And boy, there's just not a lot of that in the world anymore, and particularly in our profession.
Yeah. And one of his business things that he used to teach, and that most of us are just too busy or too absent-minded to think of, when he did a major procedure on somebody, he would pick up his phone, do a video with him and one of his teammates, a greeting to that person who had been surgerized the day before, and just send that to them. How are you doing? We're so proud of you. You did great. Now he can tell you all he wanted, that it was a business thing, and it really is good for business. And he'd send it to them at their place of work, which was very smart. But don't kid yourself. Bob wanted to make people feel good. That was the essence of this guy. Yeah, good for business, but that was not his primary motivator. I'll tell you. He wouldn't have told you that. I'll tell you that. He never, ever said anything to hurt anybody. How rare is that in dentistry?
He did hurt me once. He said I couldn't have his Corvette. I asked him nicely, and he said I
No.
couldn't have it.
Get over it. Get over it.
Yeah, I will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Yes. Yes.
Alan, how did you and Bob meet?
The same way as most of us did. This guy spent his whole career walking with the giants. All of the classics of restorative dentistry when we were studying, friends with Gordon Christensen, friends with Goldstein, Garber, all those guys. But I met him. COVID was a blessing to those of us who made it through. We all wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the COVID lockdown. And I met Bob quite by accident, just trolling around on Facebook sites. And we just hit it off because we're very like-minded. And for some strange reason, he developed a respect for me. I have no idea why. I'm still trying to get Chad to respect me. That's going to be tough. But I'll get it.
Tall order.
Yeah, very. But Bob and I just hit it off, and we kept speaking, and we started doing things together on different groups and collaborating, creating plans for our futures. He liked my Facebook group, so he decided to start one on his own. He was in the midst of writing a book, which we are going to finish. We are going to revamp that. But I met him. I've known him for maybe 6 years, but pretty intensely. We met at the same meetings. We hung out together, and it was just an instant connection. Same generation, same attitude toward the profession, same worries, same fears for the future of the profession, and the same humanistic desires for what we want out of life. And that guy knew how to have fun also.
So, was Bob nearing retirement?
Yeah, yes, he was. His practice was for sale, and he had all kinds of plans. But you know what? He had a hard time even reconciling the fact that he was going to sell the practice. That was his heart and soul. And the quality of his work and the quality of his love for human beings, that defined who the man was. But he had intended to let it go sometime in the future. He was close to my age, and he knew that the time was coming.
But he was practicing full time until he passed, correct?
Oh yeah. Well, what happened, I don't know how much of this is known, and none of what I'm going to say is confidential, but he got very, very sick. All of that experimental chemotherapy that he had that saved his life 30 years ago was starting to come back with the side effects were starting to come back with a vengeance. You know, we know it left him with a hearing impediment that was pretty significant. It left him with a significant limp that turned into needing a cane. And by the way, in spite of that, he carried on. He traveled. He spoke. He just did it. But he took ill about 18 months ago. He developed some very, very bad abscesses on a lung, and they couldn't stop it. There were bacterial infections going on there. He was in and out of hospitals in late 23 and a lot of 24 to a point where we thought we were going to lose him. I was at Paul Goodman's boost camp last summer, and he really wanted to be there, and he was just down hard, just recovering. And I really thought we were going to lose him back in the middle of 24. So he had stopped practicing when that episode began and never really got back to his practice in any significant way. Just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. His team kept the practice rolling.
It's pretty amazing. You know, I also look back on all the people that I think he kind of brought to the main stage per se. And, you know, kind of the first time I ever heard of Nathan Ho was really when Bob Pick kind of took him under his wing. And then next thing you know, Bob Pick is at Nathan's house in Dallas and showing videos of it, you know, there for an event, one of Nathan's dental win-win summits or whatever, you know. And it's just there's a lot that a lot of people in the industry that Bob has touched, and I wish we could have had them all on the show tonight, but you know, we got stuck with you. So
oh man, Jeff, you know, I'm a Northeastern guy. For most of my life, we talk about paybacks.
Oh, I know it's
that's right. That's right.
So what you're saying is
Listen,
we'll be doing
my Jersey
Chad's
boys
tribute show soon.
What's that, JB?
We'll be doing Chad's tribute show soon.
We will. And if I don't do it, I'm from Jersey and I got a guy.
Oh, I know.
I am too. Know plenty of friends in the concrete business.
I was going to say someone's building a new building somewhere soon, I'm sure.
Hell, it's expensive up there. Down here, it's $50 in a case of beer, and you'll never see the guy again. So
that's a good rate. It's a good rate.
Because I don't have my practice income anymore.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know, one of the great thing about Bob, if I reflect on all of the discussions we've had publicly and privately, never have I heard him say a hurtful thing about anybody. And Bob got to know a lot of people extremely well.
Not even Chad?
Yeah, that's how serious he was.
Yeah. Maybe Chad just never came up.
You know what? He's not that significant yet.
Yeah.
He's got a way to go, but maybe one day he'll reach that significance.
There you go.
Bob,
that was a good burn, by the way.
Bob he didn't have a bad bone in his body. And believe me when I tell you, and I will not disclose some of the details, some people have hurt him. Wittingly hurt him. And you know what he taught us, and you know, I got hurt by a lot of people. There are people who have thrown barbs at me, serious ones, to hurt me and to damage me. And what Bob taught me is that the more well-known you get, the more significance and success you attain, the more likelihood there is that somebody is going to throw something at you. It's a universal principle. But Bob experienced it. He lived it. Never let it throw him beyond, you know, just figuratively putting his fist through a wall, which we all do. But he recognized that when people know who you are on a large scale, there's going to be a few of them. And when I vented to him and when he vented to me, he reassured me at first. And I said to him, Bob, remember what you taught me? And yeah, it's going to happen. And with Bob, he would never, ever lash out. Never.
What I think is,
So I think that's, go ahead, JB.
well, what I think is really important is, Bob had a tight circle of people who knew him beyond his influence, his speaking, whatever. But to be able to validate the person that you saw on the podium, the person that you saw as your dentist, the person that you saw as your community member, as your employee, as a dental influencer, as he became, was a carbon copy of who he was in real life. I don't think a lot of people can actually say that about most famous people, that the persona that they display, the person they want you to believe they are, the work that they want you to believe that they do is actually the person that they are. And if you could think of any testament to a life well lived, it's that on camera, off camera, on social media, away from social media, performing dental procedures, away from dental procedures, you were true to yourself and your core values. I mean, I think I would only hope that somebody would say the same thing about me in the afterlife.
Yeah, and this man walked with some giants, both in dentistry and outside of dentistry. He has befriended some extremely famous and powerful people. He's so humble.
Yeah.
He's so humble. And, there's a goofy side to him. And nothing ever stopped him from being goofy. He was comfortable enough in his own skin to come out with that staccato voice as super coolio awesome. All right, 5-star purple cow. Wow. It's showtime. And that was him. That was him. And whether you appreciate it or not, it was going to be him. And he just projected his best self 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So going back to your last point, I think there's a little delay, and I'm sorry if I stepped on you there, Chad. But going back to your last point about kind of the more you put yourself out there and the more well known you become, the bigger the target, on your back. And what a lot of people may not know is that he was truly one of the early pioneers in laser dentistry. He literally wrote, I'm going to put it up here for a second. And I don't know if I've got to substitute something up here, I think it'll be Chad. I don't know if anyone knows this, but this is one of the first great texts, on laser dentistry. As a periodontist, he was an early adapter of CO2 lasers and in periodontal therapy and in open surgery. And in the periodontal world in the 1980s, you did not talk about laser surgery. Right. So automatically, being willing, all right, I'll bring Chad back now. Being willing to embrace technology even before the rest of your colleagues do, that put him out there. And I admire him for being willing to take that hit, because the first people who adapt and adopt really are the ones who are facing all of the criticism.
Yeah, that's dentistry.
Yeah, it sure is. I just wanted everyone to know what a pioneer he was in the laser world.
And that also paves the way that's doing all the gritty work for those of us to ride in on our on our white horse at the end to do amazing laser dentistry, because there were plenty who came before us who cracked the code, who screwed up, who pushed the boundaries, who broke the machine, and now generations later, we get the benefit of all of that investment in wanting dentistry to have access to that technology and wanting dentistry to be better. We'll be forever grateful for that. Look what CO2s are doing now. I mean, it's huge in dentistry.
He cleared the path.
Yep.
They're as big as ball bearings now.
Yeah. There's a video that I was trying to record and put into our video that we put together for the end of the show. But anyhow, there's a video on Bob's page, and it's a news interview from, I'm going to say, prior to his incident with carcinoma, but it was, I'm going to say 30 plus years old. The reason that I might say that is because he doesn't have the skunk stripe in his hair, and he has a very dark mustache in this video. Okay. And it was so funny to listen to him because he doesn't even sound like the same guy. And this lady's like, the news person's like, wow, Bob, I haven't had you on in over 30 years. This is just so great. What can you do with lasers? And Bob goes, well, you can do a whole mess of things with lasers. And I must have watched that little clip so many times just watching Bob, because it was like she's interviewing him and he was coming back to her with the exact same, vibe that she was giving him. And it was just such a very nice interview. But, looking back, like Jeff said, he was a pioneer in laser dentistry, and many people don't know about that. That's not one of the first names that come up. But when you start looking back through some of the early literature on lasers, it's Robert Pick. Wow. And, he really, really laid the groundwork. And this laser, honestly, that he had 30 freaking years ago doesn't look too different than one of the ones sitting in my office that's 4 years old. And, he was way ahead of the time with that. But that's one of the videos that I definitely encourage everybody to go back and watch. And the best is that the video, it's a video of a video. Bob's recording the video on TV, like on probably a freaking VHS tape.
Probably. One of the big camcorders.
He's giggling in the background as he's recording it. And you can hear him laughing at himself. And to me, I was just like, this is just so great.
There is,
what's funny is one of the old images with him and Gordon Christensen. It's hysterical. Like, literally, Bob's got this big bushy black mustache and big head of dark hair. Yeah. And Gordon Christensen looks exactly the same.
The same.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think he perfected resin chemistry to the point that he's now just resin?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, Bob, what did you do to Gordon? You actually preserved him at this point in his life with laser dentistry, because Gordon Christensen looks exactly the same as he did in that picture with you, with the big black mustache and the big hair.
Hey, Bob, I just want to let you know, if you were listening from upstairs, we just lost 2 viewers from Utah on that last comment there.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering.
Gordon Rella out.
Sorry, Gordon. Sorry.
I think maybe, I don't know, we can inspire people to get that Pick Pompadour. He would laugh at that. I would talk to him. I'm not going to sit. Well, no, this is family radio, so I won't say what I said to him about how he makes his hair stand up. You could use your imagination. But
like a movie?
What?
Yeah.
Kind of like a clip from a movie?
No, kind of like if it lasts more than 4 hours, call your doctor.
There's a pill for that?
Especially
Chad, this answers every question you've had.
Guys.
Try it, Chad. It may work.
Yeah.
But Bob had this thing with Pompadour, and it would be something we would laugh about. And I'll intimate with you, when he was sick, I told him the pompadour shall rise again. And I made it my business to keep him on the light side of the horror that he was going through.
Yeah.
He gave so much joy, and I just made sure that every conversation would have a laugh. And one of the things we miss, the extra clinical things that he did. The guy was an instrument-rated pilot. He was a pilot, and and a guitarist.
And he had a badass Corvette.
Yes, he did.
And a car collector.
Yeah. And that car he would do Monday morning kick some butt from, I would scream at him, "You're going to get yourself killed." He said, "No, it's a Tesla. It self drives."
Yeah, that always cracked me up. I'm like, okay, let's just go ahead and throw it out there. Bob's got a few years on me, right?
Yep.
I can't master that task. All right. But Bob Pick could. I mean, you would see me plastered on the side of a highway if I tried to do that. But Bob Pick, I mean, you could see the buildings moving out the other window of the car, and he's going, Monday morning, kick some butt. Like,
now, this is the song I was listening to today. Let me tell you about that song.
Yeah.
Right, with elbows out of the window.
So the other thing that came up that I just want to, because you were privy to these, and I've heard of several people that were privy to these as well. Apparently Bob really was into FaceTime.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because I'm not a big FaceTimer. So it sounds like he FaceTimed almost every phone call.
Well, I can only speak for myself. And true that.
Well, I can say that there were a lot of people that were talking.
There it is. There he is. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Are those his cars too?
Yeah, the one on the left is a T-Bird, isn't it?
It looks like it, but the one on the right's the Corvette. The one on the left's the T-Bird. Yeah.
Yeah. With his guitar.
That's pretty awesome. But yeah, you aren't the only one that was privy to his video calls, because there were a lot of people that were mentioning about Bob's habit of FaceTiming them, and it was. I found it kind of funny because I think we all have that friend that the only time they can use the phone is if it's on video.
Yeah, that was Bob.
Yeah. So I got a kick out of it.
Bob and I, from the time he got sick a year and a half ago or so to his very last day, I think I was the last person to see him alive, by the way. FaceTime, I think Bob, we spoke every day. And I think Bob had my house under surveillance, because I think Bob's thinking was, let me find a time where Alan is up to his eyeballs and things to do, and let me whack him with a FaceTime. He'd do it all the time. And what could I do? I had to take the call. It was Bob.
Yeah.
And I remember, morning, noon, and night. He knows when I go to bed, so he doesn't bother me then. But if he's awake and he wants to talk, he would FaceTime me. And the man had a true love of people. He needed to be with people. And we all gave him something on those FaceTimes, more than he gave us. We gave him.
Do you have any history on the fascination, if you will, with the Purple Cow and why that group was called what it is?
Yeah. You mean this guy?
Mm-hmm.
That guy right there. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way,
awesome.
Yeah, he gave these things out to everybody except me, and I had to yell at him to get one of these. Yeah, it's Seth Godin's Purple
I didn't
Cow.
get one because I asked for the Corvette.
Yeah.
See, you got greedy. That's what you get when you get greedy.
I got nothing.
That's right.
I got nothing.
That's right. It was Seth Godin. He wrote a book about the Purple Cow, and the Purple Cow meant that his business philosophy was to stand out like a purple cow in a field of regular cows. So he adapted that. I think he had to go through some legal hoops with that, but It was cleared, and it was Purple Cow Wow. And as great as he was clinically, and as big a pioneer as he was in the olden days, his big thing was exceptional customer service. The patients had to feel great. He was way ahead of his time with that. Also, it's about, look, we're all good dentists here, but it really is about how you make them feel at the end of the appointment or at the end of the day. What?
Oh,
What is
never
he
mind.
doing?
Saying Chad might be an exception to the rule.
Well, boys, behave yourselves, okay? Do I have to referee this thing?
Yes.
Bring a
Maybe.
couple of
That
birds.
is what this show is missing. Ellen, you need to come in a referee.
I
We
will,
need a referee. That is
You need a
exactly.
referee.
I will buy a
Exactly.
striped shirt and a little hat, and I will referee you guys. You guys have to control yourselves.
Sweatband, though,
You,
is
you
a
know,
must.
Sweatband.
you know what
Because
I
it's
just
a full
realized?
contact sport.
If I knew, I would.
Do you know
But
who
then
Alan
for the
Stern
other-
reminds me of?
Oh no.
Remember Leslie Nielsen in Airplane? I just want to
Yes.
wish you all good luck.
Yes.
We're all counting on you.
Shirley, don't call me Shirley.
What a great movie.
Yeah, and no, I'm flattered that you call me that because my
I
wife.
picked the wrong day to
Hospital?
quit
What is it?
sniffing
It's
glue.
a big building
Huh?
with patients, but that's not important right now.
But we're all good dentists here, and Bob, as great as he was, and he preached excellence in ethics, succeed with excellence in ethics always. But his lectures, his talks, the whole Purple Cow thing was not about dentistry. It was about being excellent at taking care of the people who pay exceptionally good money for your exceptionally good service. That was his thing for the last 20 or so years. So that's where Purple Cow comes from. It was a Seth Godin idea of succeeding in business, and he just applied it to his business principle.
Now I'm going to have to read that book. We've got a comment here. Thank you very much for that comment. And now I've got a little bit of insight to Seth Godin's book. I'm sure that Jeff and Jennifer will probably tell me that they already knew that because they like to make me look stupid. But
I was going to say, you do that well enough yourself without any help.
We actually don't have to do a thing.
There's your payback, pal.
thanks, Alan. That's 3 out of 4 that can make me look stupid. So there we go. We're good.
It's an
Alan,
easy lift.
I love you more
honestly.
every day. Every day I love you more. I just want you to know that.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me tell you something. When technology doesn't fail me, these two could be a little bit in trouble, So, but tonight's not that night.
You need a rep, I'll be here.
Yeah. Tonight is definitely not that night. So
that day, may I tell a story?
I would love for you to.
Please.
So it was a week ago tomorrow. I do a mastermind group for young dentists every Wednesday evening and every Thursday morning for my West Coasters. So I do one at 9:30 Eastern time. So I don't stay up late. I'm staying up late just for you guys. But at 9:30 in the morning, it's old people bedtime. But 9:30, well, I'm sitting here, I'm getting ready to hop on my mastermind group. FaceTime, there he is. It's the cow. And I picked it up because I knew I was having a busy day and I wouldn't call him back right away. So he comes in and he just starts busting on me, saying funny things. And I said, Bob, I'm hopping on my group in 5 minutes. Can I call you back? And, he was just goofing around and he said, sure. And he hadn't shaved. So I told him to stand a little closer to his razor before I talked to him next. And we got a laugh out of that. And I told him I'd call him back. I think I was the last person to see him alive because 2 hours later he was gone.
Yeah.
And
it was either that morning or the day before he was responding to posts that we had put up. He was on our page, and I mean, what does that say about someone who is ill and not feeling well, but but still taking the time to comment and respond and make people feel heard. I mean, what a testament to an amazing life.
It's a love of his profession. It's a love of the people that interact with him. It's a sense, even with Bob, it was almost as humble as he was, as many of the giants that he's walked with and taught and learned from. He's humble enough to feel appreciated by anybody where he posts. He knows he would be appreciated. And by the way, the incident that took him last week was totally out of the blue. It appeared that he was never going to make a full recovery. He had also fallen and broken his hip, had a problem with that. You never knew that.
Mm-mm.
He would never allow that to
Mm-mm.
define him or take him down. But this came right out of the blue. He was getting stronger, and he had every intention of traveling and being at conferences again. It was right out of the blue. Nobody knew. He didn't know this was going to happen.
The morning of, we were in shock when we heard of his passing through your post, but the morning of his passing, he just subscribed to our YouTube group.
Yeah.
And I was like, how could that be? How could that be? It's just like it's just, it was just so odd, because I hadn't heard from Bob in a while, as to him, for that to have happened that day. But, just so many things. And, he was just such a fun loving and great man, and a great educator, a great dentist. And I think you have a plan. I hope it's safe for me to say this, to memorialize him. Can we talk a little bit about that before we close the
Absolutely.
show?
One of the driving
And
forces.
Alan, before you do that, let me I just want to tell everyone out there, I think it's going to come up. If it doesn't play well tonight, I promise this will be on tomorrow, but we have some other really important people that Bob touched. Laura Brenner Studholm. We have Paul Goodman. We have who else do we get? Pam Maragana Muniz from Dental Economics. Just people who are really have been such a big part of our industry, that have been touched by Bob in their careers. We're actually going to show a video at the end, God willing. We'll show a video. Hopefully it'll play. But I don't want anyone to go anywhere, because I really want you all to hear the words of these important influencers and great dentists who Bob has touched. So with that, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure everybody knew that was going to happen, so they didn't leave the show prematurely.
Jeff, when I put up that announcement, it was in the middle of the morning, and Diana, Bob's longtime office manager and executive assistant, she called me, and I see her coming up on the caller ID, and I'm thinking, oh, that's nice. She's going to call, say hi. She's crying hysterically. And I just had to stop, and I cried for a while. I had to sit quietly and just try to absorb that this vital, vibrant little boy in a 69-year-old body, this little boy is gone. And, when something happens like that, and, we've all faced adversity, I think most of us believe that we can make something good happen under the worst circumstances. It happened when I lost my mother. It happened when I lost a whole batch of friends. And I think we have, I don't want to use a crass term, but I'll use it anyway, an opportunity to really make something potently good happen in the wake of this tragedy. if when I saw the magnitude of the response to this, I think it was over 2,000 responses within hours. And I'm thinking, this humble guy who's talked to me about, where he's been and who he's known, but in a little boy persona, this guy has touched so many people in so many ways. And I knew we had to get a group of us together and do something. So it started out with Paul Goodman, Elijah Desmond, Bob D, Kara Kelly, Glenn Vo, Nathan Ho, all of the people who have these really good groups. And I left somebody out, please forgive me. And then along comes Bob's old friend, Robert Gittes, who is an endodontist down in South Florida. And we come up with this idea that we are going to shoot to raise at least $1 million for Northwest University Hospital. The hospital that saved his life, and the hospital on which he was on staff, and the hospital which took care of him when he was so terribly ill. So I'm not shy to tell you that it is my aspiration that my bare ass minimum goal is going to be $1 million in Bob Pick's name. And we are going to ask the Dink community and all of the communities that we're involved in, and anybody and everybody that Bob may have touched, to really think about Bob's impact on the world and how we can keep that going. And Bob always said to me, Bob repeated a lot of things. He had a knack for that, but I learned repetition is not redundancy. And when Bob dug deep into his emotions, at any time he had an excuse to say it, we have got to cure cancer. It was a recurring theme in his life. We have got to find some way. We've all lost people to cancer. It's ubiquitous. And if we can contribute to the end of this scourge in Bob's name, what better gift can we leave? So we're going to have a link to the page dedicated to donations in memory of Bob Pick. And if you can fork up $250, that would be awesome. If you can't fork up $250, whatever it is would be awesome. And if you can fork up a more serious donation than that, some of us can, some of us can't. Those of us who can will boost up those of us who can't. And we will take care of Bob.
I think that
This is so beautiful. And what I will say is all of us struggle with the fact that someday no one is going to remember who we are or what we did, because just generations move on, things happen, and fame is fleeting. But legacies like what you're talking about are not. And so just the ability to have some kind of an impact on the medical community and to be able to put that kind of money into cancer research, what a beautiful legacy that is. And so we applaud you for helping to put this together. We will post the link to that. We're getting close to being out of time, and we want everyone to enjoy the words of some of the other great influencers in our industry. But Alan, thank you so much for bearing your soul and for being a great friend to someone else. I mean, you don't ever need to be thanked for being a great friend, but you know what? It's you see that, and I know how much that must have meant to him. And we all need friends in this industry, especially when people are trying to knock us down. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for everything you've done for dentistry. Thanks for what you're doing for Bob and for putting this together and helping us memorialize Just a great human being.
Thank you. Can never thank you enough.
Thank you.
Chad, do we have a little video to put together for everybody?
We do, but I want to read something that I found kind of that. Can you all hear me?
Please do. I'm sorry.
No, I just
Yeah.
want to read this because there's something that was given to me when my mom passed, and I was going to read it tonight, and I just felt that it just wasn't really fitting to Bob, and I found something that was really fitting to Bob, and it's an author unknown poem, and it's called "Carry My Legacy." And it says, "Carry my legacy not in stone, but in the seeds of kindness you've sown. Let my laughter echo in your smile and my courage light your path a while. When doubt creeps in, remember my voice, a gentle whisper, a guiding choice. In every act of grace, let me reside, the love I shared forever inside. Though time may pass, my spirit will stay in every step you take each day. Carry my legacy, let it be known, through the life you build, the seeds you've sown." And I think that that's very fitting for the legacy that Bob left in dentistry. So as we close, I put together a video. It was haphazard. Technology sucked tonight. But I don't want this to be a blemish on our thoughts of Bob. But there's some great words in here. So we're going to close with this video. And everybody have a wonderful evening and carry the legacy of Bob Pick. He was a wonderful man. That did a lot for our profession and will continue to do so as life goes on. And we will share the link for the memorial as soon as we can. I'm going to actually ask Alan to put together a post regarding the memorial in the next few days and post that on our page. Okay?
Will do.
All right. We'll close with this video. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
When my friend Bob Pick came to Philadelphia in 2018 to lecture for my group, he sent me a video and I said, "What is this guy doing sending me a video? Can't he just send me a text message?" And that's when Bob shared with me one of his most important tips, that video engages 1,200 times more than any other medium. And sending more videos creates connections with your friends, with your family, with your potential customers. And that truly is the ABC, always be connecting spirit of Dental Nachos. I learned so much from Bob Pick, from carrying my business cards with me. When I'm at a CE conference, I always grab a few business cards before I head out, because Bob said, you will never know who you can give your business card to, who you can connect with. Another thing that Bob was so big on was mentorship and support. Someone who has grown Dental Nachos to a 60,000 plus member community, which can be amazing, awesome, annoying, chaotic, all at the same time. Bob always had my back, from the text message he would send to the DMs to being on our C channel to being a speaker at Super Dentist Boost Camp. I'm so grateful for Bob's friendship, for his mentorship, for him having my back. I will remember his fantastic energy when the moderators, Mrs. Nash and I, came to Chicago. He pulled up in one of his vintage cars in 2019 to see us. That is the type of guy that Bob was, someone that always had your back, someone that motivated you to do better. He gave so much to the dental world. I'm going to miss Bob, but I will always remember his spirit, his energy, carrying my business cards, making videos. And I am so grateful to call Bob Pick one of my friends.
Hey, Laura Brenner here, just hopping on so that I could share some of my favorite thoughts and memories of Bob Pick. I think the whole dental world is reeling today over the sad news that we found out yesterday. And one of the things that I'm most struck by is how many people are saying, I spoke to him yesterday, I spoke to him this morning. And, I even feel so grateful that I was able to be on his Facebook Live in his Purple Cow Wow Facebook group just 2 weeks ago. And this is so tragic. It's too soon. Dentistry lost one of our best people. And I just keep clinging to the fact that I got to have one last meaningful conversation with him. And I'm grateful for that. And, Bob was always the most positive, the most kind, the sweetest. Every time we interacted, whether it was a private message or a post, he would always say, "I'm so happy our paths crossed." And it always meant so much, and it was so kind. And I know that he was so full of love. So I say, let's celebrate Bob, because that's what he would want. He would not want us to be sad. We know this about him. And Bob, we all already miss you so much. And thank you for making us all better as people, as dentists, as dental professionals, you name it, you made the world a better place. We love you and miss you.
As we all mourn Bob Pick, I wanted to take a minute to celebrate him, as I cannot imagine him wanting us to be sad, even as we deal with this enormous loss. He had the most incredible gift of making everybody he meets feel important and special, and that greatness was attainable. I actually never met him in person, yet I considered him to be a dear friend. I met him as a guest on his podcast, and I left with this wonderful friend and a list of action items that I could bring back to my practice. I'll always be grateful to him for his friendship, his encouragement, and all the things he taught me. My favorite thing he taught me was to create a video that we could text to our new patients. And the video would welcome them to our practice. It would remind them of something we taught them during their appointment, and also allow them to see what we look like as people and to get to know us as a team. I bet you everybody out there has a pearl from Bob that they can take with them always, so that we can all try to attain purple cow status. I personally am wearing purple today for him, and I hope he's resting peacefully and watching over us. And may all of us be as good to each other as Bob was to us.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession, so let's make it a great day, Dinks.